Are you ready to create more impact, more freedom, and more profit for your business by changing your sales system? On today's DMC Marketing Nugget, we're diving deep into sales strategies and creative methods that are driving revenues for businesses right now. I'm Devin Herz. Welcome to the DMC Marketing Nugget.
Now welcome your host with the Daily Nugget Dose, Devin Herz.
Okay, today we are going to welcome the founder of Influential Passion, Chris Sanchez. Thanks for joining us on the DMC Marketing Nugget. Your work focusing on influence and passion is really making waves, and we're thrilled to dive in with you today on the Nugget, man. How's everything going?
It's going well, Devin. Thank you so much for having me on the show today.
And you're down in Hawaii. You just got through what was supposed to be the tsunami, and everything is good for you?
We survived the tsunami. Like I told you, I was a little disappointed, but actually, in retrospect, I'm glad that there wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah, man. We get the whole feeling here in Florida too with the hurricanes. Like you're gonna get slammed, and then you don't. And you're like, well, I want a little bit of that, but it's better off that it doesn't hit us, and other people have to worry about it, and not us. So glad everything is good, and you're hopefully enjoying some surfing down there in Hawaii. But I want to dig in and get a sense of how you really began in this business journey and helping businesses out.
Yeah, long story short, let me see if I can crunch it for you.
Good luck.
I think so. Sales has always been something that has come natural to me, and I didn't realize it until later on in life. My first job was working as a busboy, and I very quickly realized that if I provided better service for tables at the restaurant, then the waitress would tip me more, so I can make more money. And so I started to like take more things on my plate and started to provide better customer service, clear tables. And, I quickly learned like, oh, I could make more money if I become the server. And so then I started to have the waitresses train me on becoming a server. And then I moved into, bartending and all of that and working at high-end banquets as a server. And so this concept of sales and tips and service, it was something that was instilled into me, from a very young age, but I didn't really realize it. And I would never consider myself a salesperson. I was just doing what I had to do in order to provide the best experience, which meant if I did that, then I would make more money. My first sales role out of college, a friend of mine was like, "Hey, Chris, we need somebody to travel around the world and help us sell some of our products and our services." And I was like, "Travel around the world? All right, let's do this." So I signed up, and yeah, and that's where I was really indoctrinated into what is like true hardcore sales. And
Okay.
even then, it really just became relationships. It was talking to people, understanding who they are, what they want, what they care about, and how we could potentially help them or serve them. And it really wasn't much different than, serving a drink at a bar, at least in my eyes. So I launched an e-commerce company at that point
Okay.
because I was traveling all over the world, and I was like, this is not going to be sustainable long term. It's amazing now, but in the future. And so I invested all of my savings into a supplement company, formulated
Okay.
my own supplement. And I was like, okay, I've done a little drop shipping before. I've done a little bit of, Facebook ads before. I think I can do this. And when nobody than my friends and family bought my supplement and I
Not
heard
that
crickets,
easy.
I was like, I got to learn marketing. Right. So I started, learning as much as I could about marketing, Facebook ads, and like the psychology behind it.
Okay.
Invested in a mastermind, started to actually start to convert cold traffic. That was one of the most amazing moments when I was like, holy crap, a stranger bought one of my things online. And I did it because of this. And it was just a rinse and repeat cycle. So that's how I got into marketing. And then inside of that mastermind, people started to see that I was getting results and they started to ask me for help with
Okay.
their projects. So I started doing some freelancing stuff for other people. And then the owners of the mastermind were like, Chris, oh my God, you're crushing it in this space. Do you want to actually like take on some of our clients? Because they were running an agency as well. And so not only was I in the mastermind, then I was taking on, clients from the agency side. learning on someone else's dollar using systems that I was already implementing. And I was like, this is perfect. And so I just like went super deep into marketing and, funnels and automations and conversion rate optimization, all that fun stuff, ads. And then this company started to do live events. And I had like 8 years of traveling the world doing live events, sales events. And they were like, hey, do you know anybody? I was like, actually, I could do it. I stepped in and I like blew them out the water at their first event. And again, relationship sales. It was conviction in the product, conviction in like what we could do because I had done it. And it was just understanding people. And so we crushed that event. And then from there, they're like, hey, can you just take over our sales team? Like we don't have a sales team and we're doing it. And so I was able to remove the founders from sales, and start to hire team members underneath me, appointment setters, sales reps. And then I moved up to team lead and then sales manager. So that's really like kind of how I got into sales. Before that, at the company I was consulting with, I had already been at sales manager, sales director level at that company. I was just traveling the world, and it was amazing, but it was too exhausting. So it was really easy for me to take those skills, transfer them over here. And then, of course, I'm like, well, if I am doing this for other people, and inside of companies, I might as well work with founders directly and start to help them. And I felt like I could have more impact, and so that got me to where I'm at today.
That's awesome, man. And it's so wild how many entrepreneurs I speak with and business owners got their start in the service world, right? Where I was working at restaurants, myself, nightclub marketing and promotions and doing things to stand out. But that too was relationship building. It's like, why are they coming to my club that I'm promoting versus the club down the street? It was because of the relationships, the events that we did, doing things different, showing people a good time. So all those little things that play into stuff in the future that you're not aware of, and learning on the streets and through those real world solutions, how to really handle the relationship building. So I think sales is definitely, especially nowadays, it is about the relationships because there's so much crap out there. You got to sift through and know who you're buying into and really trust who you're buying into. Now, your company, I know, is centered around helping businesses stand out, connecting authentically. In your experience, what's the single biggest shift right now that businesses need to make to really establish that relationship building, that foundation for long-term success?
Yeah, really good question. I think that with the access to information, and AI, of course, and like everything is moving so fast, the buyer is more educated than they have ever been. They have access to more tools, more resources, more solutions than they ever have. And at this current moment, what's really going to differentiate you is being able to tap into the human element, the emotion, and really understand your buyer on the other side. And I like to do that through a consultative or a Socratic dialogue. And it's
Okay.
really just having a conversation to understand them and what they want and the challenges that they're having. And when you can position your solution, or maybe you can't. And in that case, you have to part ways, and just kind of be upfront, or at least be upfront and try to come up with some like creative solutions to help them. But I think that's the most important thing because there's just so much out there right now. And if we're not actually building relationships and connecting,
Yeah.
um, I think they could go anywhere else.
That hybrid approach of implementing systems, automation that may not be you actually typing an email or SMS out to your clients, but then tying that in with a real person calling. I know for Prinavision, our video brochure business, that's changed the dynamics just because every single contact that comes in gets a real person calling them. And that has changed. Now you're going to get some people that get annoyed, and then you're going to get some people that actually appreciate it. Most business owners that realize, hey, this guy's being persistent, he's called me multiple times, that is usually what it takes this day and age to move that sale forward. And I know that having that human touch is such a big part of that. So don't just solely rely on these new systems that are completely automated. Bringing in that human touch, bringing your authentic self online with the social, with the tips you're giving, doing shows like this, that really brings people to know who you are, because they're going to be spending a lot of money. I know a lot of people you work with, they're spending thousands and thousands of dollars. They've got to have that trust in you. So I think that's a great nugget right there. Um, you're working a lot with brands really to unlock some of the newer sales strategies and systems. As far as innovative methods and different channels, I mean, we've got what we just talked about, the automation, the picking up the phone, but driving new leads and getting new leads and gaining traction. Where are you seeing some of those things that are working right now?
Yeah, so the interesting thing is, I think every channel works.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of making it work and making it work for you, right? So, I have a client where that's running both Google and Facebook right now, and Google is a much more higher intent lead, so it's a different conversation than someone who opts in. I'm sure you see this as well, Devin, with what you guys do and your clients.
We've
Facebook
discussed
requires
this.
more
Yeah,
work,
got it.
right? It requires more work. And so every channel is just a little bit different. So I think it's finding where the buyer is at, where those conversations are happening, and then
Okay.
understanding what system needs to be in place, what sort of scripting needs to be changed based on that channel, based on that modality. Um, One of the other places that I see working really, really well for one of my clients, they're doing over 14 million, is they have a large organic presence. And so they have cracked the code on creating uh, viral organic reels. And
Okay.
then those viral reels, right? So it's like almost like a testing ground for paid. So the highest performing organic content then gets converted into a paid ad. And we already know that it performs organically. And so now the chances of it performing out the gate from a paid perspective is much higher.
Right.
Now, the key difference is there typically has to be a little bit of sales positioning that happens at the end in the CTA or in the ad copy, but the creative itself we already know performs, and so that's like one of the heaviest lifts. So that's one little nugget that I see working really, really well is building organic, right? And then using that as a playground, a testing ground.
I love that. And then on top of that, are there any mistakes that you're seeing? I mean, you mentioned it all works, right? And that's what people need to understand. It's something that we preach: the omni-channel approach, hitting multiple places, multiple times, all the touch points, the different things that you really need to do to keep a business relevant. Any mistakes that you're seeing that businesses should avoid right now, or where they're starting, stopping, or what's failing?
Yeah, I think so. Two things. I always look at it under the same umbrella, but I look at marketing and sales.
Okay.
So on the marketing side, I think that people don't realize how much testing they need to do, how much volume of creative and testing. Like most people expect that if you just turn on an ad, it's going to work out the gate, and that's really not the case. There's so many individual components of an ad. There's the hook, there's the hold rate, there's how many people are watching all the way through, how many people are clicking, how many people are clicking on the ad, going to your profile and going that way. So I think just the volume of testing is probably 5 to 10 times more than you expected in order to find the winners.
Right.
So that's one thing. And then on the sales side, it's literally the volume of follow up. It, it, I talk to, so even some of my clients before they work with me or, individuals that, we just chat sales. I ask them like, what does your lead follow up look like? Like,
Right.
oh, we called them 2 or 3 times and they didn't pick up. Like, this is a dead lead. I'm like, are you crazy? So a quick story here. I
Okay.
have a solopreneur client where, again, we cracked the code on the lead generation side, and we're starting to work with him to crack the code on the sales side. And for a solopreneur, they're really looking at quality of leads. And if they're doing all these other things, we got to make sure that the leads are quality, that they're picking up, that when they're dialing them or when they're setting that appointment, that there's a lead there, right? When you have a sales team, when you have a setting team, we can kind of reduce the quality just a little bit to create volume and allow the team to like squeeze every juice of lemon, every juice of every bit of juice out of the lemon, right?
Right, right, right.
And so it's like really understanding what is the system that you need for a solopreneur, right, to maximize their time because they don't want to be doing 250 dials a day. I have a setting team, that's their KPI, that's their quota. Like they have a power dialer, they can call 3 to 5 lines at one time, and they're pumping out 250 dials every single day. So it's just it's literally a numbers game. And so if you think that you are doing follow up, you're probably not doing enough follow up, and you could
Right.
probably 2, 3, 5x the amount of follow up that you're doing, and start to see better results.
Yeah, and the amount of volume, the amount of touches there again, right? I mean, that's what can make the difference between a sale or someone going elsewhere. I mean, I think people think, oh, they opted in, they know who my company is, they know who we are. If they want us, they're going to come find us again. Bullshit. I mean, you go back
Right.
online, you get your competition in their face. They're buying keywords that match your company name. So that continuous touch and that ongoing drip of, again, the human element of people calling, the emails, the SMS, the retargeting campaigns, all that plays so well together. Um, it's scary. I mean, as a business owner, when you're talking about testing, I know that Facebook ads, for example, I have clients, oh, I just want to do a Facebook ad. I'm like, do you realize you need at least 5 to 10 bits of content? We need to try this with different messaging, different calls to action, and see what's working. And those budgets can be used up pretty quickly. So not on the question on the books here, but just curious for those that are in the smaller business world, is it organic content they should be laying into? Where do you see some of those people that may not have the tens of thousands of dollars to spend every single month on Meta and Google and beyond?
Yeah, so I guess depending on like where the business revenue is at and if the product or the offer, the service is validated. And so by validate, I mean like if you have a service offering, um, have you generated 15 to 20 conversions on that one offer to be able to say like this is a validated offer? If so, I think it's okay to start looking at paid. If you don't have that, then I think you have to be doing organic, unless you have a budget. I tell my clients that if you want to go to like a VSL or paid ads, get ready and be prepared to invest 15 to 20K
Yep.
over 3 to 6 months. Like that,
Yep.
that is literally now
What
if you can do it with less, amazing, right? And we can have the sales systems in place. We can have the sales strategies to make sure that when we do get somebody, that we can convert. But like, unless you have that set aside and you're prepared, like you're kind of gambling, right? So,
Yeah.
to answer your question, Devin, I think depending on where you're at, depending what revenue levels you're at, depending on if the product or service has been validated, oftentimes it makes sense to go organic, and a lot of the same strategies that they're different yet the same, right? Like it's just literally a volume of outreach on the organic side.
Yeah, and I think too, on top of that, we don't have to necessarily hit the entire world when we're talking about ads. So you're targeting, knowing who that client is too, and even starting locally, and then being able to expand that out is something that I've done because we put out ads. Hey, everyone in the United States, that's a business owner, entrepreneur, follows Russell Brunson, does all this, does that. You don't need to go so broad. The more targeted you are, the more industry focused you are, the more you can cater that message and really start to see those analytics coming in. I'm going to kind of flip flop some questions here because you made a good point as far as delegating to a sales team. And I know that's a lot of what you do and how you help businesses out, and it helps with the volume of reaching out. So, how important are you finding that business leaders build and empower dedicated sales teams? And really, what impact have you seen when business owners actually take that leap to do so?
Yeah, it's insane. Well, I think it also depends on like what your business goals are. But
Sure.
even if your goal is not to have, to scale this multi-million, 7, 8, 9 figure business, in order to get to that level of scale, obviously you can't be the one that's doing everything. So you would need a team. But even for like, if we're looking at a solopreneur, um, most of your time is going to be spent doing outreach, creating content, trying to connect with people to get them on a call with you to then present your services, right? So if you had a team that could support you on the outreach, that could support you on the follow up, on the appointment setting, that allows you to show up for that 30, 40 minute slot and really dive deep to see, can you help that person, right? So I think even solopreneurs should have, I like to call it a sales pod, right? Like maybe not a
Okay.
sales team, a sales pod, right? So you and one or two other people that are assisting in your sales effort, that are buying back your time. Now, on the other side, entrepreneurs that their goal and their intentions are to build and scale a huge company, you have to have a sales team. Like, how are you going to, unless you have ad funnel to buy your thing, you
Right.
have like a killer VSL, how are you going to sell your services?
Yeah. Extremely hard to. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Now,
And
one of the biggest mistakes that I see with sales teams is that, um, entrepreneurs or founders will pretty much just pass that off. Like, hey, I hired this appointment setter, this closer, and I'm expecting them to figure it out. If they could figure that piece out, the system, the script, the close, like the offer, everything, they would be an entrepreneur,
right.
right? They're very good at a specialized role.
Okay.
So as a founder, as a business owner, it's our responsibility to dial in the process, the systems, validate the offer, the script, so that you take something that's already working and pass that off to a trained rep or get them up to speed on KPI. It's so much easier. So just to like circle back around on one of the biggest mistakes that I see happening.
Yeah, don't expect, inspect, and make sure that you're part of the collaboration with them and you're using the things that are working. And probably what's gotten you to the point that you are in your business is because you were a damn good salesperson. And I know, I've done some of these sales processes before, and when you're the main focus and the main person that needs to talk to all the leads coming in, it's exhausting. It really
Yeah.
is. So having a sales team like Chris is talking about, vetting these people to where we know they're a quality lead, and then maybe you'll jump on the phone to talk with them. I'm still involved in a lot of the closing and the final say as far as what's going on. But the fact that I have a team behind us doing most of the heavy lifting, it has definitely provided me a lot more time in my day to focus on things that I should be focusing on. And ultimately, all the business owners out there that are listening right now, they should be focusing on that growth. So doing it right from the get-go, making sure those scripts are on point, making sure that your sales team is fully educated and well-versed on your product and solution is super important. And I know you've helped many teams make that happen. And you've also had the cool privilege of collaborating with some iconic figures. Those are the likes of Tony Robbins. I'm sure y'all have heard of him. Grant Cardone, Daymond John, a couple of the Sharks. So yeah, man, Chris, you're big time. So it's nice to see and hear and have you on the show. What have you taken away from them? Is there any memorable stories, any times, any lessons that you've learned from some of those Sharks or maybe Tony or Grant?
Yeah, so many lessons, and
Yeah,
it just kind
sure.
of takes me back to like the glory days. So one thing that stands out, and I was so impressed. I had done a lot of studying of Tony Robbins, personal development. It's an area that I'm really passionate about and I enjoy. I've been in high ticket info product personal development sales for the past 15 years. So like this is my wheelhouse. I really love that space, and I'm always learning. And so, at one of the events where, we were collaborating with Tony Robbins, it was a huge conference. We had, 15 to 16,000 people inside of a ballroom, and Tony Robbins is speaking, and he's speaking for 12 hours straight. Um, the amount of energy that he sustains and the just like the passion that he can create inside of that room, and he can help people realize things about themselves by speaking to everybody but telling stories, right? So he'll go to individual people and he'll single them out and he'll get their story and he'll start to reframe and break their thought processes, right? And so in sales, and I started to see this happening live, right?
Okay.
And so I was like, wow, he's changing how they think.
The
He's
mindset. Yeah.
reframing their mindset. And so this is something that we do in sales all the time. Is like we're showing somebody that like, yeah, you have this thought pattern and you have this way of thinking and a way of acting, a way of making decisions that's gotten to where you're at today. But
Right.
it's not going to be the same patterns that are going to get you to the next level.
Very
And
true.
so this idea of reframing is something I think is so, so powerful. And a lot of I think amateur or untrained sales reps, they're scared to challenge the prospect on the call. They're scared to reframe their
Right.
thinking, right? Because they don't want to come off combative or they don't want to offend the prospect. But it's like if somebody's on a call with you, they're on a call because they're looking for help. They're trying to solve a problem they haven't been able to solve. And if you've done your proper discovery, you understand all these different pieces and dynamics. And if their mindset, if their thought process is not aligning with the actions that they say that they want, there's a huge disconnect. And so we have to do this reframe. And so that's something I think that Tony Robbins is phenomenal at, and something that I carry into a lot of my sales conversations and a lot of the reps that I work with and coach is like, there's a way to do it in a right way. Like Tony can break people down and make them cry and then
Yes.
motivate them to go change everything about their lives.
It's
So why
insane.
can't we?
Right. No, he's a master of the craft, and I think learning from his way about doing that and getting people to change their mindset is very hard. And I know, I mean, I recognize these things too because we've learned it right through our world of business and watching Tony and all these entrepreneurs. But then I see myself kind of falling into some of those same patterns, and like, man, you got to make the changes to really excel. And sometimes it's hard for us to make those shifts, but sometimes those shifts are what's holding you back. And I know right now too, with so many things happening so quickly in the marketing world, it's like, whew, we can go this way, we can go that way, we can go, so many different directions that we can go. And right now, thankfully, knock on wood, things are going great for us, but that doesn't always last. So the evolution and where we go next has to stay in the forefront of your mind, and how you're handling these sales conversations and what you're doing to evolve your business, I think makes a difference. Not necessarily right this second, but a year from now, 2 years from now, if you're not harnessing all these different nuggets that we're teaching you on the show, using sales teams, using AI, it all comes together to really shape your future. So for the last little nugget here, as far as any leaders and marketers out there that are listening today, leaving a memorable legacy. And I mean, to some people, legacy is important, others not so much. But just the habits and mindset. So I think sometimes we're our worst enemy here. So what is that mindset shift? Talking about mindset shifts, that you really recommend cultivating right now to shape that lasting and influential brand?
So one thing that I think is really, really, really important is being passionate about what we're doing and what we're selling and how we're helping people. Because there's one thing that will sell your product more than any sales tactic, any sales process, any sales system, anything. It's going to be conviction in yourself and the service that you provide. And people
Right.
can read that conviction. And in order to get to a level of conviction that people are like, holy shit, I believe in this guy because he has such strong belief in himself, I'll take a risk with him versus this guy. And in order to get that level of conviction, I think you have to be passionate about what you're doing so that you can do it long enough to get the experience, to get the results, and to know that like, hey, at the end of the day, you'll die on your sword, knowing that you will be able to help your clients. And so that's like tying back to influential passion is like I think that passion, any entrepreneur can sell their product or service if they're passionate about it and if it's truly meant, if they're truly doing good for their clients. And we can take that passion and we can channel it into influence. And influence is more, it's more powerful than sales, right? Sales is
Yeah.
like you're trying to sell somebody something. It has this like icky connotation, but when you can influence them to make changes in their lives and their business, in, their surroundings, like you can literally be unstoppable. And so it's like really channeling that passion, that influence. And then when you can convey that to your team, to your
Yeah.
sales team,
Yeah.
it just becomes unstoppable. It's like now you can take that passion and you can basically transfer it over to them. And now they're having that level of conviction on their sales calls with your prospective clients, and they can feel that, and you start to create these relationships. So I could go on and on about it, but I think that's like, one of the most powerful things.
Right. The passion spreads like a virus, man. And I see that both ways too. If you're negative about something, and I watch it in my personality, and if I'm pissy about something someday, pretty much when I'm on my with my team members, they're feeling that same vibe, right? So it's tough, but yeah, having that passion, really relaying that to your sales team and your internal team, and then beyond on the outbound sales side of things is really where people can jump on board and really buy into what you got going on. Love to know more about like who that perfect client is for you these days and how people can get a hold of you.
Yeah. So one thing, if you don't mind, Devin, I wanted
Yeah, no,
to,
man.
since you said negative mindset, and I think as entrepreneurs, we can all have bad days. We know this, and it's challenging. And this isn't like rainbows and butterflies all the time. So one thing for your listeners that I do on all of my meetings, all of my team meetings, huddles, sales calls, everything is like we have to start off with a win. Everybody has to share a win, because even if we're in, having a bad day, we have to look at how did we win yesterday? What did we learn? How did we serve our clients? What is something that's powerful that happened that we can highlight, and that totally flips the switch, at least for that conversation? So for those, that team meeting, those 30, 60 minutes, whatever it is, you start off on a good note, and that kind of sets the tone for the entire meeting. And you do that repeatedly, it's really easy to snap out of negative mindsets, especially for your team members,
Yeah,
right? So
that's huge.
sorry, I didn't want to,
No, that's
I didn't want
huge,
to
man. I
leave
think
that
that's
thought
such a
behind.
powerful thing, right? I mean, it's so true because yeah, I mean, there's so many times that you wake up, and of course, you're always seeing the majority of the time on social, you're seeing all the positive stuff. I got filled my pipeline. I got millions of this. I got this. It's great. Bullshit. We're people. We all deal with not only personal stuff, but waking up and then all of a sudden you got dealing with 20 technical support things. This isn't working. The client needs this one needs that. And it's very hard to sometimes come into those meetings with a positive outcome. So I think right there, on top of all the other great nuggets that you just provided, that is so huge to come in with what did we do? What was the victories that happened yesterday? Where do we advance? What did we learn from our mistakes that we had them? Because there is that positive side of all of that that drives the team forward. So I think that is a good reminder. I'm sure we've heard some of these things before, but that reminder right there of coming into those meetings, being excited to talk about what we are doing, how we're progressing, all the good things of what we've accomplished, not necessarily the 20 tasks that you didn't get to yet. So
Exactly.
I think that's awesome. And I know you just, I think, recently started a podcast yourself. So fill us in on that, and where people can find you, and really how you can help them out.
Yeah, yeah. So to answer that question in your earlier question,
Yeah,
who do I serve, and like who's really doing well? So agency owners specifically, because I don't know if you could tell, I really enjoy marketing, I really enjoy sales and all the systems behind it. And so agency owners have such a high level of knowledge and experience in that space that it's like we can see results really, really quickly. So agency owners, coaches, consultants, it's been a space that I've been in for a very, very long time. I really love helping people that are helping other people. And
nice.
then on the flip side of that, high ticket products. So anything that's high ticket is probably going to require a consultative sale. Um, and so I have a couple clients that they have high ticket physical products. They're selling, DIY cabin kits, and they range anywhere from 10 to 25K, and they're actually shipping to your house. Well, it's not a must have, it's a want to have, and that requires a consultative sale. So those are typically the types of clients that I work with, high ticket consultative sales cycles or sales systems. The Agency Excellence podcast is the podcast that I recently started. And thank you for coming on a couple weeks ago, Devin. It was such a fun conversation. It's fun to be back here on your side.
Yeah, it's fun.
And really, on that podcast, I am featuring and highlighting agency owners that are scaling, that are leading, and kind of teasing out the areas of life and business that they've had to master on the way. And some of the failures, right? Because it's not, like you said, it's not all rainbows and butterflies.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's wonderful, and the fact that you're helping agency owners and beyond is huge, and that's really where our passion lies too, is the helping, and watching the growth of companies that let you do your thing. You know, they give you that freedom to really help build their business, build their sales teams, create new creative marketing. I know that's when we do our best, is when the clients say, "Do your thing. Go ahead. We don't need to be involved. We'll give you your feedback." It's definitely a collaborative approach, but we want you guys to use your brains, and that's where we excel. And then I'll have those pissy mornings when I'm not coming to a meeting positive, when they deny our ideas. I want to do something that's silly. So, yeah. So for those clients of mine that are listening to this, let me know if you heard this. You made it through most of the episode. So cool.
Yeah.
Don't do that mailer, man. I got something better that you should do. But no, this has been really cool. I know we're going to collaborate on some future projects. We got some good things going on the sales right now, but we are working on some great, exciting new things wrapped around AI and video. So really locking in our sales team is something that excites me, and knowing that I got someone like you, Chris, that I can turn to drive things forward in the best way possible is great. So appreciate you being on our show today.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me.